Yeah, thanks everyone for joining us today. And we can just, I don't know, I guess we'll just wait for a little bit for people to come. So in the meantime, why don't you just, how's everyone doing in lockdown? How's everything going in Leeds? I'll let you know how everything's going here in London during lockdown.
Oh. In Leeds is everything is okay. It's a bit hard to do the homeschooling and work.
My side.
Is good. What about all of you?
Zakeli, how is the lockdown in South Africa at the moment?
On my side, everything is cool apart from Cape Town. It's like not abiding to any laws, but other than that, we're doing very good.
Yeah. And I've read that the numbers in South Africa have been pretty low in comparison to say how it's going here in England, to be honest, and some of America, for example.
Yeah, our numbers are not that bad because now we are sitting on 3,000 compared to other countries. Hopefully by end of this month, we'll be down to 1,000 because they've managed to get some cure from Madagascar apparently. So we're still trying to maybe test that. I don't know. We'll see.
Okay, brilliant. I'll tell you how lockdown's going here. I mean, people were, I would say, like recently we've seen a change, especially in this area, and where we live in Southeast London, there's, I mean, this is an area that's got one of the most amount of cases for within London. And unfortunately, I think the last few days I've seen a lot more people because we can just see it from my window. We can see a lot more people out and about in comparison to say the last few days, the weeks before that. And I think unfortunately, because the government's been acting a bit as though they want to lift the lockdown without officially saying anything, I think that's meant we've had more people going out. Yes, going out. I've seen groups socializing and things like that, which is a bit of a shame, because I don't feel as though we're in any position like that. I think we're in a worse situation now than we were when lockdown started. So I think, yeah, I don't know. It feels to me everything is spin at the moment when it comes to this government. It's about spinning the whole, how we deal with this coronavirus, or how we can spin the numbers on the deaths or anything and things like that. But yeah, so how's everyone affected with their work and things like that? Are you able to work from home?
I think for us it's pretty mad, to be honest, because I work in IT now these days, so working from home and trying to basically enable an organisation of 1,000 people to start working from home as well has been pretty stressful in my job. It is, as working at ITV on Emmerdale as one of the few staff editors, so her demand's been really high, and we've got 2 young kids who also are pretty demanding, so it's been pretty intense. Plus our neighbours have bought a karaoke machine and are constantly singing really, really out of tune at pretty much all hours of the day.
Really loud. But they're having fun.
So just a quick introduction for anyone who's just joined us for the Amazulu Q&A. We've got myself, I'm Richard, and this is Hanan. And we've also got Ben and Elisa, who are the sound designer and editor. And then really, really pleased to have Zakeli with us, who's the, really like the kind of, in a lot of ways, he's the voice of the students in that film, and like a incredibly inspiring figure, I think, in my life and Hanan's as well, in terms of like what we took with us after making that film. What was that like for you, Zakeli, watching? Did you get to watch the film again just now?
Actually, I do have the film, so I do watch it when I'm not again. Yeah, it just takes me back to high school life. Oh, those moments are just unbelievable. Are just unbelievable. So it's a very nice movie, an amazing movie actually.
Oh, brilliant. This is great to hear. Zakeli, are you still in Umlazi or in Durban?
Currently, I'm in Joburg due to some working stuff, so I'm in Joburg. Not in Mlazi. I've not been there for a while, but then I'm still in contact with my former schoolmate. Still hang around, have some beers, maybe. Joking. But yeah,
It's really
we still
interesting.
talk a lot. We still talk a lot.
It's interesting for me, and Elisa, I think, because I guess following the kind of wrap up of the film, we kind of moved away from it then. Whereas I guess for Chad and Hanan, they've carried the film and done a lot of promotion and tried to get it out there quite a lot. So for us, it is well, for me at least, watching it, it was like uncovering a lot of memories. Sort of, you sort of watch it and you think, oh God, yeah, things that had slipped out of your mind. And you think, God, yeah, I was there. Got to remember those houses, those people, all that stuff. And yeah, it was really, from my personal point of view, watching it and thinking, God, I really want to know what happened to all these guys now. I want to know, how did they get on with their exams? How did they get on with their further education? What's life like? Have people managed to, because one of the continuing themes through the film is about the desire to use education to lift yourselves out of the kind of socio-economic situation that you're in. And it's sort of thinking, rooting for you guys and wondering, who made it, who managed to improve that situation, and I guess, yeah, really wanting to know what happened to everybody.
And it's hard now, isn't it? It was hard back then to keep in touch up to this point, because it's before Facebook. Like no one had mobiles there out. The kids, like these days, when we make a film now, it's like we can just keep in touch with everyone, and we can keep tabs on what everyone's doing. And it's kind of a different. It was like a different world back then. Are you in touch with any of the other kids from the film, Zakeli?
Yes, I am Nansansa, Tembi, the photographer, forgot his name, Mr. Mchali, and again, and Cindy, beautiful voice lady.
Wow. And how are they doing generally? Like, can you give us like any kind of update on are they in Umlazi still? Have they moved away?
Only Cindy is there because her mom is not feeling so great, so she's actually looking after her family. Nonhlanhla, she got married, no longer stays there in Mlazi. Timbi as well, she travels everywhere because she's running her own business.
On business?
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's doing very well.
That's good.
Brilliant.
Doing very well. And Mr. Mchali actually resigned a few years back. Then we did something to actually honor his work, and he was so happy, way too happy.
Wow. So is he getting some? He's getting some rest now, some well-deserved resting time.
Yeah.
Is the school still doing as well now that Mr. and Charlie's not involved?
Yeah, it's still going great. Actually, still going very, very, very great. Because matric last year they got around 99%, so they're still doing very good.
Ah, fantastic!
Because they're very disciplined.
That's brilliant to hear. And Zakeli, do you remember So, you know, because it's been 15 years now since the film came out. Do you remember what the impact was like? Because I guess we won in South Africa, so we don't know what impact. I mean, we heard of the impact that it was having in South Africa, but we didn't see it ourselves. Do you remember what was the impact like when the documentary came out, in especially around Durban and Umlazi?
Actually, our school was the talk of the town at that time because of this documentary. There was a school, Durban High School. Actually, we were also interviewed there because they did buy our film. So they wanted to know what actually inspires us to be part of your documentary. So they were so interested to know more about our school. So we did some interracial sort of mixing school and whatnot. So impact was very, very positive, I could say.
That's really, really nice to hear. I mean, I guess we didn't know of any of these things, all of us guys, when this was happening. I think personally, I think the time that I realized that's just Nico coming onto the line as well.
Hi, Nico. How's it going?
Hey, I just finished work. Thought I'd drop in and say hello.
Wow.
This is Nico, who's the co-cinematographer of the film. He's just joined us on his way back from work.
I mean, it's pretty fitting that he's driving because our trip in South Africa, he was the main driver. I mean, I was the secondary driver, but I was pretty rubbish at driving. I think most of you'll remember that. But Nico was just a legend. Like no matter what, he's like, I'll drive the car, man. So it's fitting that he's in a car at the moment.
Yeah, I'm snaking my way back through Bristol. So
brilliant. So Nico,
how are you all? Sorry, carry on your conversation. I'm just dropping in.
We were just talking about what impact the documentary will have had in South Africa, and one of the ways that I realized that it was having some sort of impact was, you know, we were hearing things from some people in South Africa, but the main thing was when we put the video online on YouTube, it was just getting loads of hits. And we were just getting loads of comments from people in Umlazi in particular. So it was particularly Umlazi we were getting loads of hits from. And when you looked at, when you broke it down where the viewerships were coming from, it was from Durban and Umlazi. So, and that's why I was interested to know. I was like, wow, you know, it's had some sort of impact specifically over there. And I think as filmmakers, that's one of the most things that you can ask for, really, that your film has some sort of impact for the community that were featured in the documentary.
And I think there's a generation of head teachers as well who all saw the film because, you know, the Department of Education for KwaZulu-Natal, they started distributing that. They were running conferences and bringing in all of the head teachers from KwaZulu-Natal, from all the secondary schools, and getting them to sit down and say, right, you've got to watch this film. You've got to see not just Mr. Mchali and how he's running it, but look at these students, like look at this environment that he's creating. So like that's like a legacy of User Kaylee, of Tembi, of Cindy, of Sponello and Kosnati and Mr. Mshali, that there's like a generation of head teachers who are kind of looking at you guys as a model for what education can be.
Wow. And so just to get Elise and Ben in, you guys, like one of you worked on the edit with us, but at least you were still on the shoot with us. And Ben, you were on the shoot. But one of the things that Ben, you did, and I don't know if you saw, before we played the film, we played the whole soundtrack, and you worked on the soundtrack as well as the sound of the film. But you actually worked on the soundtrack, and I think one of the things that people always talk about when it comes to the movie is the music that's in, and it's the only musical me and Richard have ever done, really. And I think that soundtrack is just so inspiring. And you worked on that. You took the young people into the studio. Can you just talk maybe a little bit about the music?
I feel embarrassed now because I cannot remember the name of the choir master. Zakeli, I don't know if you can remember the guy's name, but he was a very formal and a very kind of stoic. I don't think he wanted to be on camera, but he doesn't appear in the film. Very sort of kind of upright, very proud looking guy, the choir master, but he was very passionate about the music in a very, he took the kind of the traditional music of South Africa and looked at it in a very formal way, you know, through the lens of somebody with a formal music education. And he was very precise with the rehearsals and very precise with what he wanted out of the choir. And I remember we went to the studio, I think is it something like South African Broadcasting Corporation? It was a big...
Yeah, it was, I remember.
Yeah, a beautiful big studio with a really nice old mixing desk and a really experienced engineer. And yeah, we worked through all the kind of formal repertoire of songs in a very kind of formal and structured way, all very precise and all very well rehearsed and very well drilled as he wanted. But there was something that I sort of wanted as a producer, which was to capture a bit of the energy that you see with you know, some of the footage in the film where the kids are marching through the school on the way down to sit their exams, and the way that kind of energy and everything carries. And at the end, I asked them to do a piece which was one of the kind of more traditional kind of Zulu, almost like tribal pieces. And I remember he sat in the performance room, not looking at us, not looking at the kids, not looking at the choir, just staring into space with this look of kind of disdain on his face, because the kids were just letting him rip. They looked through the window at me, and I remember one of the guys in the choir just kind of looked at me as if to say, "Are we allowed to do this?" And I just went, "Yeah, do it, go for it." And they just burst into this kind of wonderful, joyous kind of energy that you see, and I wanted to capture that. And I think when we sequenced the CD, we kind of put that as the closing track on the CD to kind of encapsulate where it came from. But yeah, that was kind of my favorite memory of the day. Not that I wanted to upset the guy, but the way that he didn't want to be. He almost had a professional pride that he didn't want. He wanted to show the formality that could be established through the music, but I wanted to show some of the energy that the kids had through that. But yeah, it was a great experience, and I hope it was a great experience for the kids as well to kind of just go and see that kind of environment and see what it's like to actually be in a proper recording studio.
Yeah.
And Alisa, could you just maybe share some of your experience of because you were part of the production and you were part of, obviously we did the edit together. You were leading, and me and Richard was kind of like your assistants when the edit was happening. But what was your experience? What can you share about your experience of being in South Africa, watching the shoot, and then being able to then come into the edit?
I think it was,
then later on,
for me, and watching back is pretty amazing, because, you know, for you guys to let us film part of your lives. And then I think because we went to film, we have more or less what we wanted to show, a kind of story, but we wanted the people, the students, to show us what the final piece would be. So we tried to, although we had a storyline that we wanted to cover, we let the piece flow in itself. It was a really, really cool experience. It was a really nice cut, and I really enjoyed the edit. It was, it was a massive experience for me. I keep remember the end when we cut for AIDS, and we keep thinking, what end we're gonna do? How is gonna be the end? And then suddenly, we had that end, that music, everything, and it's like, oh my gosh, He's there. And it was such a nice thing to watch again. Yeah. So thank you guys, because it was really good to be part of it.
Thank you, Lisa. And it was, I think in the edit as well, is when, like, I guess at no point were we ever wanting to like put a voiceover or the view of an outside like person, which I guess would be the regular way, and still is like really a regular way of approaching a documentary, is to have this outside voice coming in. I think that's the way that we started off, and like still me and Hanan, when we're doing the films, it's like we've stuck to that, from that experience of being there and meeting you guys in Umlazi, and thinking like nobody's got the right to go and visit a place and then put their own voice on it. Like anything that you ever need, if you're making a documentary, is going to be there. It's going to be Zekeli, Mr. and Charlie, Spinello. It's going to be these guys and their voice. And yeah, I can't imagine wanting to do a film differently to that. Really, we're working.
I'd say, like, well, Rainbow Collective was formed in South Africa. That's why the name Rainbow comes from, the Rainbow Nation. But like, I think for me and Richard, as we continue to make documentaries, I think that experience of being in Velabishleki High School and choosing to do that documentary in that way, and we didn't plan it that much, did we, Richard? I mean, we didn't, and we still work in that way. We don't plan stuff too much ahead, because how can you plan with? We always want the people like Zekeli and Tembi and Mr. Mshali there. What they do is what's going to lead the film. We just do what we need to do, is operate the camera, direct from here, make sure we get the interviews right. But really, it's they're the ones who do, and we've followed that through, I'd say. And I don't think we've ever done anything with a Western voiceover. I think that's rude, actually. And I think we'd all agree on that, like to go to any country and then to have a voiceover from somebody in the West, I think is just not necessary. Not when, when you look at this film, you've got someone as articulate as all of those students, a poet that Zekeli was. Why would you need our voices in there? Why would we need to say anything? What? I don't know if you can hear the V-Day celebrations going a bit.
No.
Oh, I can hear they got the singing going at the moment. I just had to go check.
One thing I do remember about that was just coming to mind as you were saying that, was like that it was such an intense few weeks when we were out there filming in South Africa. I'm kind of wondering if you guys still, when you're out filming stuff, whether you kind of still have that level of intensity, the kind of, because I remember that, the early morning starts, the sort of driving into Umlazi from Durban, and the kind of long, hot, intense days, getting back to where we were staying and unwinding and probably drinking too much as we were unwinding, and then waking up the next day and doing it all again. And it was intense, and it was, kind of thinking about that element of it now, and I'm just thinking, I mean, that, we had the fortune of youth, I think, at that point. I think these days, I don't think I could put myself through something with that intensity.
I could.
I mean, that was pretty intense though, because do you remember we used to come home like from doing the shoot. I mean, from being at the school, so we'd get home for maybe 4, 5-ish, and we'd all sit around the table, have a drink or something. Then we would watch the rushes, all of us together. Then go back, have something to eat, something more to drink, and then we used to stay up till about 12-ish, and then I remember waking up at about 3, 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
We used to have to get into the car for about 5 and get to the school for about 6, so that we could get there because remember, was it 6:30? Because there was 2 set starting times. The first starting time is when the students who were struggling to do their homework at home would come in. They'd have like a homework club, and then and then the school would start, I think maybe about an hour or so later, 7:30. So we would always get there for the homework club bit, which was like 6:30. I mean, I think we did that shoot like pretty much every day on maybe 2-3 hours sleep a day.
Yeah. Well, you talked about driving. We had the 2 cars that we would drive down. Sharon and what was the other one?
I haven't heard that for ages. We did name it Sharon. I don't know.
Well, it was a Volkswagen Sharon, but everyone started calling it Sharon as we were jumping in. Sharon! And then there was another one as well. Anyway, I don't know if you guys even remember, but again, thinking about that, the intensity of all that. I don't know if you remember
that kind of set the tone for a lot of then, like, because we kind of mostly we stopped doing like international documentaries in that style now. We don't do it because the technology's changed now. So like we'd rather be training up like kids at the age of those kids at school. Like if we were doing something like that now, like you remember when we did that, we had like so much kit. We were like flying over like just boxes and boxes of equipment to be able to make that film. And even that was with the lightest equipment possible at that time. And now you can give cameras and phones and stuff like that to people in the community and support them to make their own work. I mean, in the UK, stuff's like we spent a long time then doing stuff in Bangladesh afterwards. Pretty much up until when the technology shifted, and then we started doing more teaching for the international stuff. But when we're doing our own filming, I don't think it's really got less intense. I think that kind of baptism of fire of doing Amazulu and that kind of not really doing anything by half measures, you know, like if you're going to be, there's so much time in between when you make films like that. It's like when you're doing it, it's just, you've just got to get on and you've just got to kind of throw everything into it, like physically and mentally, just absolutely throw yourself into it. And like, I know like now we do we when we're filming stuff, it's usually in the UK now, but we cover the protests, the blockades at the arms fair, the DSEI arms fair at the XL Centre, which happens every 2 years. And with that, it's the same thing. It's like, we'll literally we're just working 24 hours, just working around the clock for this kind of 10-day period, and everything else disappears. And it's just like nothing exists apart from that production at that time. But I think that's the kind of, some of that discipline is what we got from Amazulu. And like years later, we're still trying to work to that level.
No, definitely that energy started from Elisa, do you remember we used to do the edits and like we would be like, because you was working at ITV. I mean, at the time, were you the editor or were you the assistant editor?
I was the assistant. So I used to, because I was thinking about that this morning. I used to work until 5, get to yours, because you used to work in your house, isn't it?
Yeah, we used to work in my basement, remember?
Yeah, the basement. So we used to go, so around 5 o'clock, I used to go to a basement, work until 12, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, go home, and then start work at ITV again next day at 8 o'clock in the morning. So, but it was good fun, because I remember we had sections that we had to work, and we all kind of like set each other some tasks. So we're going to talk about school, we're going to talk about the start of the day, and then we used to separate each of the cast, which one we're going to work. And the story would go from, we had a lot of rushes and built for rushes, so it was quite hard to choose what to use, because it was so gorgeous, so many beautiful stuff that the kids said, and it was kind of like picking until you get to find the best. But it was easy. We probably could have another film with the stuff we haven't used.
Yeah. And we're still using that process that we did with you. Like whenever we're making a long film now of, we'll like in that film we had the post-it notes covering like meters and meters and meters and meters, like right around the basement in this kind of timeline that we could shuffle it around and then try and like take a step back and look at it. And that's another thing, like we still use that, basically that exact same system now. And that's when we're teaching students now, we teach them based on that kind of editing process that we did with you.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was a lot to learn, and I think it was really good because we all learned a lot with each other, and because there was no ego, so it was kind of like we all had a different way to work, and we all could chip in and talk to each other because it was just such a collaborative process. It was really good. It was really, really nice, the editing, even though I think we all really tired because we used to stay awake until 2-3 o'clock in the morning and then have to work the next day. But it was still really good. I'm trying to remember, how long did you edit for?
A year?
It was a whole year.
Sorry?
It was like a year. The edit took like...
Was it a full year, or was it just...
Oh no, the shoot was the whole production a year, maybe.
I'm pretty sure itself maybe it was about 9 months or so, because I remember that by the same time, the following year that we'd finished the shoot, I think, not finished the shoot, that we were there, we were then pretty sure you did the Durban Film Festival, do you remember?
Oh yeah, so it must have been, I think the whole production was a year, wasn't it? And then we about maybe like half of that was editing time.
Even when we did the second and third visit, maybe we were still editing. The edit was still happening. Like, and we had like, because I don't think we've ever, I mean, even now, like with the films that we've done since then, I don't think we've ever done a documentary where we had as much footage as we had for Amazulu. I remember it was over 100 hours because we had that big box full of tapes, and it was shot on 2 cameras. So it was mine and Nico's camera. And so everything was pretty much doubled up, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then some of the stuff wasn't even doubled up, actually. Some of the stuff, it was just like, so the end bit was just like, it was just like when just me and you had gone, Richard, wasn't it?
And my mum.
Yeah.
And your mum, sorry, yeah. And Denise, so like it was, there was, I don't think we've ever come around to having as much footage as that whilst doing a film.
I think that was what we had so much kind of freedom to do it because we weren't constrained. Like we could do it all as if we were doing like a professional commissioned film, but because it was done through the Northern Film School Foundation, so that was like Denise York, my mum, who she kind of set up this initiative that we'd be able to then go after we graduated to have like kind of a bridge into the industry. So it was like, what was it, six students from across 2 years could go and like and do this production, and she convinced the university to pay for the bulk of it, and then Durban City Council put in some money as well. But it just meant we could take whatever time was needed to make the film, and it's like, oh shit, we need to go back to Umlazi and film some more stuff. So it'd be like, okay, cool, let's just find a way of making that happen, get Leeds Met or whoever else to kind of cough up another few grand. And in the end it meant we got to make like, what was the budget was maybe like 70,000 or something, 80,000.
Let's just, I think it'd be, because I was thinking that earlier, and we've just got caught talking, but it definitely, we just got to pay a bit of respect to Big Mama for all the what we learned from that experience. Because me and Richard have gone on to become producers now, haven't we, Richard? We produce our own documentaries. We don't, it's very rare somebody else will come in, and we did learn so much from that experience. And like, the Denise York, what she was for me, well, I wouldn't be a filmmaker if there wasn't. Denise York was my mentor, and I only worked with, I didn't even know Richard. It was Denise York who I knew, and I only knew Richard later on. And me and Elisa were working, and I know Elisa, it was the same as well, because Denise was helping you. I remember she was helping you loads on your dissertation, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, I have a lot to thank, and yeah, definitely. She helped loads with the dissertation, and it's just kind of, even with like work ethics, and see what is still today, what I bring to work is a lot of what she told me, of things that, just keep an eye of what to bring to work, how much of yourself to give to work, and what's the best part that, to use from you to the job. A lot.
definitely.
Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah, I think like all of us kind of put a lot of, that was always her thing. I think for all of her students was like, always put yourself into your work and like don't do stuff just for the sake of it. And again, I think that's kind of what me and Hanan have then gone and built, like kind of built our company around that idea of just, yeah, we only do stuff if it's something that we really feel that we can
And
feed
Richard, wouldn't you say, I think there's even a lot in what, so when we were in South Africa, and for myself, I've never been there, and I never even been, you know, in the region, the continent or anything. But being in South Africa, I remember being with Denise, and I would say one of the things that she taught myself, and I would say the both of us and the company, was that, you know, how we do things is that how you behave whilst you're in a place as well. So not just when you're filming, and how you interact with everyone and how you throw yourself in there and be very open-minded. But even I can think of this really small thing where, remember, we used to all go shopping, and there was a supermarket that we used to all go to, and there was a day when the supermarket staff decided to go on strike. And so by this point, we'd all met quite a few, some of the workers, we'd met the cashiers, we used to say hi and bye. So when they went on strike, Denise was like, we're not going there for shopping. We're not going to cross the picket line.
Yeah, yeah.
Somewhere to like a fancier place. And then I remember your mum having to talk to the financiers in Leeds, and they questioned why she went shopping. She was like, I'm not crossing the picket line. And I just think about me and you, Richard, because we've done so much work with unions and stuff, and about people's workers' rights, especially. And that little experience of that, because I can still remember it, has very much crossed into what we still do now. There's always the big things. The big things for me, like I said, you know, I wouldn't be a filmmaker if it wasn't for Denise's intervention in my life. You know, there's the big things, but then there's the really small things, like I just talked about now. That's the type of impact, and that's helped us as we become filmmakers. And since South Africa, we've traveled all over the place doing exactly this. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the reasons, you know, we do get invited to come back to do these documentaries or campaign films is because of the way that we are on set, and we've learned how not to be on set, and we've learned how to be on set. And that came at a very early stage from doing this documentary and spending all of that time with Denise, because there was the shoot, but then there was after the shoot. Do you remember me, you, and Denise went to Cape Town to do Bafana, which was the follow-up to this documentary. We did the festival circuit. We had to learn, and then because Amazulu had a TV distribution, not TV, it was art house cinema distribution. TV and cinema. So we had to go to Johannesburg for these meetings, and honestly, that just taught us so much about how the industry works. And on top of that, at the age of, I was 25 then, I think Richard, you were 24, and we could say at that age, when the industry was different, when technology was different, we'd done our first feature document, we'd got it out of the, you know, we'd done it, and we could just like go on to do other things. But you know, people at that stage, people were like, if someone had done their first documentary by the age of 40, you know, they were classed as a young filmmaker, you know, they'd done good. And, you know, we were really like, and that was all because of that vision that Denise had in all of us as young people, as students, that, you know what, these, let's put this dream team together. That's what she'd always say. And I know something will come out of it. And that's why, even after all of the documentaries we've done, Amazulu will always hold a special place in my heart anyway. And I know they're the same for the rest of you guys.
I thought it was just amazing. I think it's because of all that when at her funeral, when we showed Amazulu in London, was like maybe like five years ago now almost, is it? But then all the students that came, because she'd been kind of teaching film since the like late 60s, early 70s, and there were students from like 40 years previously. Like there were students spanning like 4 decades that she taught, who would still like, who then heard about it, and they're like, right, we've got to come to the funeral. And I think that's kind of that's because of the kind of teacher that she was, and the legacies that she's now had with people who are working in the industry, is that decades later they'll kind of come across the country, or people coming from different countries even. And that's why we showed Amazulu, which I think was like, that was her kind of her big finale, wasn't it?
It was a very much a passion project for her, wasn't it? You know, she was very, very keen to see that film made, which is something I've got. Obviously, I guess there's my gratitude to everyone as well, because I came into it not as a student of the Northern Film School, but basically through Elisa, who was a student. And I remember socially when she was talking about it, and you know, sort of you guys were getting together and saying this is a thing that's happening, and you know, Elisa would like you to be involved. I think I remember saying at the time, do you want me to come and carry bags for you? Do you want me to? I can drive, I can carry bags. This sounds amazing. Can I come and just be your lackey? And then a couple of weeks later, or a few days later, the message came back. Well, you went to you did music technology, didn't you? I'm assuming you can handle a microphone. Do you want to come and record sound for us? So that was
Yeah.
It was one of those kind of very, well, I think even at that kind of point of youth and inexperience, I think I realised that was a sort of a once in a lifetime opportunity. So yeah, that's it's one of those memories, isn't it? One of those things that, you know, really grateful to have had that experience myself.
Yeah, I'm just really grateful. It's a shame that like Zakale, I think his connection it bombed out, but like it's just great to be able to hear that the kids are doing well as well, because like we just managed to get back in touch with Zakale recently, and I think especially hearing that like Tembi's like out doing her business stuff and traveling, and yeah, like just 15 years on to be able to look and see actually like that it wasn't all talk, you know. It wasn't just like you were saying, Ben, it's not, it was the talk of these dreams and stuff that they had, and this plan. And actually like that's it's really it's just amazing to hear that those youngsters have actually, and obviously like Cindy would always be staying in on Lazi, because I think of all of them, like Cindy's like the one that I'd imagine absolutely just like staying within that community, and hearing that Nkosnati's still taking his photographs as well. It's
yeah, it's funny some of the choices as well that of what was included in the film. Just the little details, you know, so kind of watching it almost with fresh eyes. The little important details, like, you know, the daily cleaning routine of the school, the fact that the kids had to get their elbows working, and actually, you know, it wasn't just the educational aspect of the hard work. It was the fact that, you know, this is a full-on daily slog, and I think part of that teaching that work ethic was one of the kind of big things that Mr. Mshali had and brought to the school and those kids, and you could see that they all had it. They all carried it with them, that they were never going to succeed without that real drive and that work ethic.
There's these little details that always jump out at me, like watching it now, and I think one of them is in the way that Hanan and Nico are filming it, and you see them in the classrooms, and they're wearing these uniforms, and the colors are all incredible, but then when it cuts into the close-up and you see some of the kind of the frayed edges, and when you look really close, you see that the stuff's old, and yet it's Mr. Mshali who's been making sure that everyone's got a school uniform.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's worn with such kind of pride, and they're kept with such pride that when you look at them as a group, the way that they take pride in themselves, and like, I'm not one that loves a uniform, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not a big fan of kind of authoritarian structures and all this kind of stuff, but at the same time, this isn't about that. It was about making everyone feel equal, not about making people feel superior. But yeah, that's one thing that I always love watching it back, is those little visual details that kind of they tell a bigger story.
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. And do you remember, like, because so when we initially did the film, and I think the version that went out in South Africa was a full 90-minute documentary, and the version we showed today is the 60-minute. In all honesty, I mean, there's a few things here. In all honesty, I don't even have the 90-minute version anymore. And the hard drive that we had the film on, it got bust like maybe a decade ago or so.
I think I have the 90. I don't have
So the copy we've been playing is a DVD that we were able to salvage and ripped it, and then that's the copy that we've been using for when we posted it online.
It's still getting shown all over the place, isn't it? Like, but from this like this kind of this SD copy. Maybe, huh?
I was just gonna say, me and Richard, we're gonna have to come to Leeds and get make a copy of it, because the only person that's actually got the HD version is you, Lisa.
It's funny, actually, in the weird things, the weird kind of synchronicity of things. We were clearing out our loft not 2 weeks ago and found the PC that we built for Elisa to do some of that editing on.
Wow.
the Mac.
Yeah, nearly went straight in the skip, so it's
No, you wouldn't.
Maybe we'll have to get it ready for a 20-year anniversary remastered version that we can put out again.
But that I mean, you have to remember as well, guys, because when we did that film, like, everyone is like, oh yeah, HD, 4K, all of that stuff. When we did that documentary with those cameras had just come out, and it was one of the first like HD documentaries to have come out at that time, even though probably no one realizes that fact.
But we could never play the HD version anywhere. It was before, like, the cinemas didn't really have DCP and stuff like that then, so it's like we had it, but like no one was actually watching it in HD.
We would always still have to down convert it to a DVD. But what I was going to say about the 90-minute version was, I remember, because I was thinking of this last night, do you remember how long we spent in the edit working on that? Because I think the first 20 minutes was just like no dialogue.
Yes.
And we worked really hard just to make that flow, because we had all of the shots, which was, we went to everyone's house, all of the students' house, we did a morning, and that's why, again, Ben, you'll remember the morning trips with Sharon. We would get to the students' house before they were going to get to the school to do their morning session, which was before even school started. So we would get to their houses so early. And so we had all of these elements, and then we brought it together to create this opening where everyone's getting ready to go to school. And it was like, it was like a 20-minute silent film. It just had atmospheric sound, didn't it? And just some dialogue here.
I think that's this kind of like uncompromising view that we had at the time, which was like, you know, if people aren't prepared to sit and watch 20 minutes of silent cinematic movement at the start of the film, then they can get lost, and we don't want people like that watching this film anyway. Like, it's like you should be able to appreciate it. You shouldn't need some like rapid kind of front-loaded narrative at the beginning of the film. And I'd love to watch it again. So I think we'll have to try and get up to Leeds and
I can have a look at, because now I have a little bit more of the equipment. I can see if I can compress and send to you guys so you can have a look at the 90 minutes.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah,
I'll do that soon.
Right.
Yeah,
I think we're at like 50 minutes of the Q&A now, so I reckon maybe if we just kind of wrap it up, and then we can put this back on the Facebook. And apologies to anyone who ends up watching it that we didn't get it up on the Facebook stream, but we can stick it up there.
Yeah, brilliant.
It was nice to see you guys.
If you guys stay online, if we stop that, we can stop the live stream, can't we? But thanks.
Now, so just going to quickly say thank you to everyone for watching. Apologies for the technical problems with Facebook. But what we will do is, like Richard said, I've recorded this, so we'll post this on Facebook now, so hopefully some of the other people can watch it and share it. But yeah, thank you very much for joining in this Facebook, YouTube live event.
And there'll be another one next Friday as well.
Yeah, stay safe, and there'll be another one next Friday, but stay safe.